Kevin with the Pied Piper Podcast. And I want to talk to you about the key to becoming debt-free. It's about who you follow. One of the main causes for breakups in relationships and marriages is financial stress, financial problems, too much debt. And it's because we follow a society that has made debt normal. I mean, to think of it, not that many years ago, debt was not normal. But now we look at it and we know that the average family has credit card debt of about $5,000 to $7,000. Mortgage loans. I used to work in the mortgage business. And I'm telling you, when you hear someone say, well, we can lend you up to X amount of dollars, let's say $300,000 to buy a house. You don't have to borrow $300,000. I mean, you can go up to that, but you don't have to borrow that much, because that much, if you borrow it, is going to put you at the edge of your financial stability. Car loans have become a major source of debt. I know that there's a car dealership here in the area that they advertise that you can dump all of your credit cards at debt into your car loan. And so you free yourself up of all of that credit card debt, and now you're upside down in your car loan. I'm not sure that that's the kind of thing I want to follow. The destruction of debt on our families has been catastrophic. We just have such stress. People are looking for ways to get out of debt. There's all of these debt relief companies out there that will promise you that they will help you to get out of debt. Well, I'll tell you what the key is, and that is to follow an example of how to be debt-free. Follow people who aren't in debt. Find them and follow them. Ask them for advice. Find a plan, find an example that will give you a pathway to debt relief and to debt-free living. In one of the studies I was reading for this, they studied 4,500 married couples. Those couples that took on more debt over time became more likely to split up. Couples with higher debt also thought more about money and reported a lower marital satisfaction. You see, the key, as I mentioned earlier, to overcoming debt is to stop following what is the norm in our society. Stop following the commercials and advertisements that talk about how that you can get this credit card and it's going to be great for you because you'll be able to buy these things and pay them off 90 days, same as cash. Hogwash. I remember, someone who used to tell me that, we'd go into the mall and they would be advertising in one of the department stores a credit card, and if you signed up for the credit card, you got 20% off of whatever you purchased right then. Well, guess what? You purchased more. You got the credit card, and then my person that was talking to me said, well, I'm just going to cut this up after I finish making this purchase. And, didn't happen. So we got to stop following these examples that get us further and further into debt, as if it was normal for couples and for individuals to be in debt. $5,000 to $7,000 per person. Families are much more than that, in the $20,000 to $25,000 and upwards into $30,000 is the average of debt that people have. Credit cards, you name it, car loans, those kinds of things. So the challenge is to become debt-free is to change who you follow, to stop following the things that lead you into getting into more debt, and start finding examples to follow that are debt-free people. I mean, I'm a Dave Ramsey fan. I don't follow Dave Ramsey in everything. There's certain things I don't agree with him on, but I started following him, and there was a guy before him that was kind of the guru of financial freedom. So I started following them in the early days, and I've had a Dave Ramsey car, a car that looked like it couldn't go anywhere, but it did, and it was paid for, and it allowed me to save up money so that I could pay cash for the next vehicle. that I bought. I am a believer in not being in debt because the Bible talks a lot about being debt free and how that if you're in debt, you're under bondage, you're in slavery to those that you owe money to. I want to challenge you today. We're going to talk about this and a whole lot more about debt and financial freedom and what it means to follow good examples, financial examples of people who could get out of debt. When I was 11 years old, my mother came into the kitchen one day, and my dad was sitting at the kitchen table, and she dropped the 4 credit cards that they had. I remember Sears and Chevron and there was a couple others. And she dropped them on the table, and she looked at my dad and she said, "We don't have money to pay for these credit cards." And to me, at 11 years of age, it crushed me. I thought that we were broke. I didn't realize we were just, charging too much debt and not able to make the monthly payments or whatever. I thought, when I interpreted it in my 11-year-old brain, that we were financially broke. And it crushed me. And from that moment on, I can remember studying these guys, Dave Ramsey's and Larry Burkett's and other guys who were talking about financial freedom. And I have applied all of that to my life and to the detriment sometimes in my marriage where, I've been accused. This is not true, but I've been accused of counting toilet paper squares per time you use the restroom. Now, that's not true, but I was very close to that because I wanted to be debt free, because I didn't want to experience the feeling of not having that safety net that a child needs his parents to give him or her, and feeling like their mom and dad are going to take care of me. We're going to talk more about these things. We're going to talk more about how following affects our relationships. Yes, following affects your relationships because our relationships, we follow other people, mostly the people who raise us and others as we go along, our brothers and sisters and friends in school and so on and so forth at work. And if we follow those relationships, our relationships, we're going to end up like theirs. Mental health. Mental health is a huge thing that I want to challenge you with. There are influencers on social media that are keying into weakness in mental health, physical health, what we do physically, and how we treat our bodies, politically, conspiracy theories, and so on and so forth. People follow these and they get so bound up and in bondage to these conspiracy theories, they can't talk about anything else. Religious things and religion and relationship, all of those things, addictions. We need to understand how following affects those major areas of our lives. And we're going to do that and a whole lot more. If you'll like, follow, and share the Pied Piper podcast on YouTube and in other social media platforms. Follow us, would you?